This is the Live at Lunch series from the Resilient Advisor Show. My name is Jay Coulter, and joining me for this episode is my regular guest, Penny Phillips.
Hello.
Penny, I threw you with our new intro video. What did you think?
That was incredible. And I started talking and then the video started and I'm like, this is so much better than what I was about to say. So, hey,
well, I appreciate you humoring me with my new toy today, advisors. We know your time is valuable. We want you to know what you're in for if you're tuning in. First, remember you can always ask questions live during these broadcasts for the Live at Lunch series. Simply type your question in your LinkedIn comment section, Twitter comments, Facebook, and we believe YouTube works, but we haven't had a comment come through yet. Today, Penny and I are talking about something that we see in the advisor community at this time of year. It starts to become a problem. We're coming off the other end of COVID, and most advisors struggle with something that Daniel Goleman did a really good job of framing, and that is focus. If you're looking for a book on how to practice focusing, Daniel Goleman's book is excellent. Penny, talk to us about what you're seeing in the marketplace in terms of advisors having success focusing at this time.
Yes, and my comments are going to be all around adapting, which is why your intro video was so perfect, because you adapt and evolve week after week when I come here. So kudos to you, Jay. So what I'm seeing right now is the paralysis that usually occurs this time of year. And this year it's happening even more so because of what we've gone through the past couple months. Advisors are at a place right now where it almost feels like the worst of it is over in terms of having to quickly shift business models. But they're at a place now where they're saying, okay, I have realistically 3 more months in the year, right? A quarter to go. Do I keep working on the digital Zoom and the adapted business model that I've been running with the past couple months? Do I shift back to doing things the way I did before we were going through this pandemic? What do I focus on through year end? How do I get the biggest, bang for my buck, if you will, in terms of where I'm spending my time? And that's what they're coming to us feeling, that anxiety around what do I do through year end?
Yeah, and framing that up and then executing with it. Penny, I struggle with it. I get distracted by shiny objects, whether it's new technology to either vet for advisors or use in my own business, or some type of new system that can help, make things a lot easier to operate. So do you have any best practices for the advisor that's sitting there, they hear what you're saying, but it's still hard to avoid the shiny object syndrome?
Absolutely. And, I will say it's not just the movable middle advisor. These are some of the best advisors in the business saying, hey, I've been adapting so much. Do I keep adapting or do I go back to what I know works? And my answer to advisors, number one, is laser focus. And so what I'm recommending folks do is laser focus on doubling down on your client acquisition efforts through year end. And I want advisors, no matter what stage of the business life cycle you're in, to ask yourself 2 questions. And this is how you really help focus yourself away from, the shiny objects or the clients that are maybe or prospects that are approaching you that may not fit your typical prospect profile. 2 questions. Number 1, if I were to institutionalize client acquisition by the end of the year, what would that mean? In other words, if we were to say, look, you have to remove the top rainmaker from your organization, or Mr. Advisor, who's the number 1 business developer, you're going to take a hiatus. And we were to guarantee that business was going to still be generating and leads were still going to be coming into the business, how would that happen? The second part of that question, and the way that you answered the first, is what is your greatest revenue generating opportunity through year end? So 2 things I want advisors thinking about. Institutionalizing client acquisition. In other words, leads keep coming even if you're not doing the work. And secondly, what is our greatest revenue generating opportunity through year end? Now, can I move forward on that comment, Jay, and give advisors a little bit more to think about?
Please. I was hoping you would.
Good. So with those 2 questions in mind, if you are what I call a solopreneur advisor, so you're the advisor who is really doing most of the revenue generation, your biggest opportunity through year end, it's not through meeting, clients face to face, right? It's not golfing at the golf course anymore. It's literally capitalizing off of the book of business that you've already built. This is true in any channel in our industry. The biggest opportunity that exists, it already exists within the book. So introductions, additional assets from current clients, next generation wealth transfer. So getting the clients of your current clients to be clients. So I would spend the rest of the year simply calling up your very best relationships and telling those clients, we have room to take on a few more top tier relationships through year end. And we'd love for you to be the one to introduce us to those top relationships. So that's if you're a solopreneur advisor.
Okay. Hey, let's say that again. Let's get that language down so the advisor that's listening can write it down and start executing on it.
Really simple. Call your best, and by best relationships, I don't mean clients with the most assets. I mean clients who have the greatest ability to influence and network with others and advocate on your behalf, right? That specific profile that's talked a lot about in the book Outliers, people who naturally are influencers. You call them up and say, John, we've done a lot of thinking and planning and restructuring as a result of what we've gone through as a business the past couple months. And we have the ability to take on a couple more top tier relationships over the next 3 months. And we've decided we want you to be the one to introduce us to at least 2 of those top relationships. So suddenly you make that person feel like they're important, like they're part of something. And by the way, you're reminding people that you're still in business. A lot of time advisors forget to remind clients that.
That's right. That's right. Well, hey, let's focus and practice bringing this focus back to focus. I think you and I should do a whole episode on referrals and introductions, because I'm sure that your context for that would be really beneficial to advisors. In fact, we're going to put that down as our next episode.
Yes, fantastic.
So what I have found in my practice, and generally I work with Gen X and baby boomer advisors. So they came from a sales background typically. And when they were younger, they had, prospect lists, sales funnels, lead lists. When I sit down with an advisor today, and particularly I'm talking to you, the $1 million advisor that says you want to grow. And I say, well, hey, show me your lead list. 9 times out of 10, they don't have it. They don't have a system for tracking their top prospects. Penny, when you run across that situation, how do you encourage them to focus and put some processes in place to make sure they're moving the ball forward with those top prospects?
Yeah, this is a really good question, Jay. And I think what's happened because technology has advanced so much is that we're almost paralyzed by all the options we have to track leads and, manage client relationships. I tell advisors, use whichever method works most effectively for you. So in other words, if it works effectively for you to keep like I do right here, a notepad with you at all times where you jot down ideas and names, fantastic. If it works for you to put something in your iPhone as you speak to somebody or as you get an idea to put that in your notes section, fabulous. Transfer that information, either scan it or send it to an assistant or associate on your team to actually upload into a CRM. But don't get distracted by the methods that the most successful advisors in the business are using. Use the method that works most effectively for you. The other thing I'd say is it's a concept I call relentless prospecting. And we'll talk a lot about this next time, Jay. If you are not waking up every single day and spending every single conversation that you have with a prospect, a client, a friend, or a COI, talking about your business, about your vision, about what you guys are focused on in 2021, then you're not relentlessly prospecting. And the advisors that are growing at the fastest rates are doing just that. They're literally talking relentlessly about what they're building. And that's really the secret sauce, if you will.
God, relentless prospecting. That could be the name of a book you write, Penny. I like it.
Thank you.
Relentless prospecting. That could be a podcast. It could be a live show.
Yes.
That's a great buzz term.
Don't steal it.
So an anecdotal story, when I first started consulting about 5 years ago, I focused on the investment management process for advisors and then learned they needed help with all these other systems. And for me, myself, I had always been driven towards putting my prospects into the CRM. I have a bias towards WealthBox. It's a real simple system to use.
WealthBox.
All my prospects are in there, and I would teach advisors, coach advisors, and build systems inside of WealthBox. And when they would fail, to execute, I would be furious because I would think, how could you not? It's so simple. It's right there. And what I learned, Penny, is the gold of what you just said. The most successful advisors have a system that works for them and they stick with it. And I learned that lesson from the highest producer I ever worked with. He did everything on a little square notebook about this big. He carried it around in his pocket, and that's where he kept his prospect list. That worked for him. It's about customizing the process for yourself.
That's exactly right. And, of course, we have to make it repeatable. And so if we're still doing things the old-fashioned way, the way I do, right, with a pen and paper, there's something about writing that is helpful for me. Making that repeatable. So making sure that that does get to somebody who can ultimately upload is critical. But, as an industry, we put, the best advisors, the highest producers on stage and tell other advisors and younger producers, do things exactly the way, this person did things to be successful. And that's just not the way the world works. And it's certainly not the way the younger generation, Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, learn and succeed. And so we have to be supportive of whatever method works for advisors.
So that's a focus challenge I've found from multi-generational teams and firms, because the older advisors with the established practices, they tend to get frustrated, Penny, at the younger, even sometimes people who've been seasoned a decade, and calling them a younger advisor in their prospecting methods. How do you bridge that in your engagements?
Unfortunately, I talk about this a lot, and we may lose some viewers right now, but the onus and responsibility is on leadership to adapt, and leadership meaning the older gen versus the younger gen. The reason I say that is because the younger generation of advisor has only ever lived in one society, a participation trophy society where positive reinforcement and constant feedback is what they're used to, right? Think about social media culture. Like if we don't get many likes on our video, we feel like failures, right? We will take the video down. That's very different from the sales culture that the older gen advisor was raised in. Negative reinforcement sales culture, right? Where their manager was, yelling at them and making them compete. It's a different world. And so because leadership has lived through that, but now is living through a different sort of society, they're the ones, unfortunately, that have to adapt. The younger gen doesn't know it any other way. But the other thing I'd say is, if you are incredibly clear on objectives, what you are trying to achieve, we are trying to achieve being relentless prospectors and speaking about our business on every single conversation, then allow folks on your team to achieve that objective however they want, whether that means phone calls, LinkedIn messages, golfing with people. If the objectives are clear, activity doesn't matter.
Which speaks to focus again. And speaks to making sure that each day you're doing the activities that are going to lead you to the results you want, as opposed to nowhere, where a lot of people end up.
Exactly. And so if you're an independent advisor, biggest opportunity is within the book of business that you've spent all these years creating and the relationships that you've really curated in your practice.
Yep.
Speaking more directly to those clients, talking to them about the business you're building, people want to be part of something. They want to be part of something greater than themselves. So simply telling people, hey, we're taking on a handful of relationships, really, really powerful. And if you're running a firm where there are multiple revenue generators and you've institutionalized client acquisition organically, my message to those advisors and those teams, Jay, would be spend the rest of the year talking specifically to advisors that are sunsetting over the next 5 years and say to them, we've built a platform and a team that's prepared to give your clients a forever home. And if I was an advisor in one of those organizations, I would spend the rest of my year speaking directly to potential sellers of business.
So Penny, I'd want to wrap with this as a follow-up to what you just said. Because of my demographic as Gen X, I have a lot of clients who say, yeah, Jay, I want to sunset advisors. And I say, great. M&A is a way to grow your practice. Show me the list of advisors you're building relationships with so that you can sunset. 100% of the time, there is no list. How do you recommend advisors start building that list and building those relationships?
If any consultant tells you, hire me because I will help you, get a list of qualified, do not hire that consultant. The way in which most deals are actually done in the industry, statistically, by the way, is through personal relationships that advisors have with each other, especially if you are within a broker-dealer. I would say step number one is same as my comments to the other advisors. Let people know you are in business and you are in the market to do XYZ. Imagine spending the next 3 months only putting out messages to your community, to your clients, to other advisors in your network, to centers of influence, that you've created a platform for retiring advisors to sunset. Most advisors who get frustrated with the fact that they don't have leads have spent virtually zero time outside of a conversation with you or I, Jay, talking about their vision, about what they actually imagine their business becoming. So I would say start relentlessly talking about the fact that you're building a platform and team for advisors who don't necessarily have a succession plan to have a really wonderful place for their clients to go. Just simply start having the conversations.
I love it. Make sure you have that list if you call me.
Yeah, right.
Relentless prospecting. Penny, I love it. Right before we wrap up here, tell viewers a little bit about Thrivos.
Absolutely. So we are a practice management consulting and coaching organization located in New York City, although we work all over the US and Canada. And we work individually with advisors, helping them embrace change and thrive. And we also work with institutions as well, who are looking to change systems and processes so that their advisors can thrive as well.
Excellent. Penny's one of the best in the business. I appreciate you coming on the show again. Viewers really have enjoyed the content that we've produced, and you're really adding value to the network. Penny, we appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.
Appreciate you, Jay. Thank you.